Welcome back to Project 613. We learned previously the Torah's mitzvah governing transactions, that when there is one party selling and another party buying, how and when the transaction takes effect. We learned the differences of when we're talking about movable property or real property. And in general, there are different situations when a person would need a different type of kinyan. And we learned a kinyan means a mode of acquisition, when we know when is the moment that the transaction actually takes effect and that the property transfers from person A to person B. And it is a biblical obligation to follow the Torah's laws of buying and selling and transactions when it comes to property exchanging hands. Now, although usually when we talk about transactions, we're talking about a sale, when one person is selling and the other is buying. Nevertheless, we learned yesterday, for example, that there is another type of transaction that takes place without two parties when, let's say, there is ownerless property and someone is making a claim to a property. Over here, there is only one party, and we learn over there the rules of how that transaction takes place, or we should say how that kinyan takes place. At what moment can a person say that that property, that ownerless property, then becomes his? Maimonides tells us that there is another type of transaction which this time does have two parties, but there is no sale taking place. And that is when someone gives a gift to another person. Now here also we have this same mitzvah of knowing the specific moment. At what moment does my gift exit from my property and enter into your property? At what moment does the ownership change? And as far as the Torah is concerned, merely saying words is not enough. So for example, if I have a nice piece of furniture and I tell you I would want to give this to you as a gift, it is not yours just because I said I want to give it to you as a gift. Even if I say I am giving it to you and I've given it to you, that doesn't do the trick. Rather, there has to be a kinyan, there has to be a mode of acquisition that will take place in order to actually make it transfer hands from the beneficiary to the recipient. And here we have the concept of meshicha or mesira or hagbah. These are different forms of a kinyan, different forms of actualizing the acquisition. Usually it's by way of picking up the item or taking it into one's property. If it's a object which is far away, or if we're talking about real estate, this can be accomplished through a transfer of deed. Once the deed is transferred to the hands of the recipient stating that this object or this property is being given as a gift, it's at that moment that it is considered the property of the recipient, and it's at that moment that the recipient of the gift cannot change their mind and say, actually, I don't want that gift. Right at that moment, it becomes the property of the recipient. So here we see different examples how even when giving a gift, there is the laws of the Torah, at what moment the gift leaves the hands of the beneficiary and enters the hands of the recipient. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.